Now it's time not to answer the listener question, but to respond to something I saw in the comments. If you've been following the HopeFilled Financial Podcast for a while, you know I have a strong passion for helping marriages, for helping struggling marriages survive and good marriages thrive, and doing so by providing healthy financial decisions that promote healthy marriages, that statistically reduce the risk of money fights and money problems, reduce the risk of separation, and increase the odds of happiness. On one of the breakout videos that I posted on YouTube covering the marriage and money topic, Boost Junkie 27 said, "No wife equals happy life." That's what they said. And I felt compelled to respond a little bit because I think this is misleading and I didn't want someone to take that for granted. I know some people are called to singleness and I know some people are called to marriage, but I don't think that anyone or everyone in particular should deny themselves the option of marrying just because they think that marriage leads to unhappiness, because that's simply not true. As an answer to my response, Boost Junkie 27 said that 50% of marriages fail, 50% succeed, and if 50% of airplanes were to crash, would you ever get on an airplane? And that's the main argument I want to focus on right now. My response in the comments expanded on the analogy there with the airplane, saying, well, imagine you had an airline that made healthy decisions, that did everything right in order to reduce risk for the passengers on the plane. They had a 99.99% success rate when it came to their flights. There was almost no risk of ending up in an airplane crash that would cause injury or death. Now, in this analogy, imagine there are a whole bunch of other airlines that are not making healthy decisions and are not mitigating risk on a healthy level. And they make up the majority of the airlines out there. And if you average all airplanes and all the flights, well, sure, 50-50. 50% of them are going to fail and result in injury. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't fly on the safe airline that has done their due diligence. In this analogy, the average success rate for all airplane flights does not discredit or expose you to undue risk if you fly on the safe airline. Similarly, in marriage, if you make appropriate risk-reducing decisions together, decisions that anyone in any marriage can make, you can reduce your risks of separation, money fights, money problems, whatever it is that you're concerned about, to virtually zero. And that's really important to know. If you are called to marriage, I don't want you to feel discouraged about marriage because of a political climate or what your friends are telling you about the culture these days and whether marriage is fair or whether or not marriage leads to joy or not. You can't let other people define what brings you joy. You can't let other people define your why, your drive, your vocation. Now, in my pursuit to help those who are married do better with money and their marriage, I have the workshop, Your Marriage, God's Word, and Money. My workshop is available online on my website, HopeFilledFinancial.com, and it's currently designed to be hosted at a local church. So a church can go onto the website and purchase the workshop and host it themselves, or hire me to come out and facilitate the workshop in person. In that workshop, I share kernels of truth and wisdom that can help all marriages on the money front. For example, if you have a joint account, you are 5 times less likely to think about separating with your spouse due to money fights and money problems. If you manage money completely separately, there was a study done by, I believe, Policy Genius that said about 20% of those couples are on the rocks because of money specifically. But the couples who have a joint account, only 4% were really worried about money. And we got to take this seriously because thinking that your spouse spends foolishly, either too much or too little, like you think they're a tightwad, that is the number one statistical indicator that you have a future failure in your marriage. So by just joining accounts, if you have them separately, cuts your risk by 1/5. Next, if you run a monthly budget together, you're very likely to be talking about money in a healthy way at least once a week, not arguing, but discussing money. And the couples who discuss money weekly in a healthy way, according to Ramsey Solutions, are 80% likely to report being in a happy marriage. Next, debt can double the odds that you end up having financial stress that puts a strain on your marriage and results in financial arguments. So if you get out of debt, you cut your risk of money problems being an issue in your marriage in half. Lastly, if you're a faithful believer, if you're religious, Praying together with your spouse every day is the most powerful way that you can reduce risk in your marriage. There was a study done by a Catholic priest, I believe it was called Faithful Attraction, and in that study, they had a big social survey of a bunch of different couples, and what they found was those who prayed together, only 0.01% of them ended up getting a separation, which means that if you pray together every day with your spouse, your risk of divorce is non-existent. And if you follow the money wisdom that I shared just prior to that tip, well, your odds of having financial strain in your marriage are almost none. And knowing those statistics, knowing that those choices are ones that I could make with my spouse, with my wife, well, that makes me feel very comfortable getting on that airplane of marriage every time.